Hello. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for all you do. I've only been listening to you for about a year, but it felt so normal.
Resonant.
Completely.
Yeah.
When I started listening to you, and I can listen to you every day. I can't listen to anything else every day because it's just annoying. But you're so funny.
You know that feeling that you're describing, it's wonderful on the heels of what we just talked about. So as you listen, you can feel a sort of calibration to your natural state. Some people describe it as a sort of homecoming. Some people say it's like hearing what I always knew. It's just nice that what I always knew I'm now hearing. So it's sort of that calibration sort of thing. Yeah. But we want you to now associate that feeling with the lovely feeling of sitting to segment intend for the same reason. In other words, it's like joining your inner being's perspective about this moment in time. It's like merging your perspective with the perspective of your inner being about this moment in time. And think about what that could do. When you're connected to your inner being, you're more powerful than millions who are not. We started to say a few weeks ago the awesome power of non-resisted thought, but now we want to say the awesome pleasure of non-resisted thought. Because if you think of it being the pleasure of the non-resisted thought, then you don't try to direct it somewhere and try to make something happen with it and get out of balance about it. Just a little aside there, but you're ready to hear that. Because you're feeling so viscerally the feeling of alignment in hearing these words that you know from the very depths of your being. And so now we're just asking you to extend that feeling into another practice that will serve you so well. As hooked on those recordings as you are, you're going to get hooked on your notebook. You're going to get hooked on the deliberate conjuring of alignment within your being.
Yeah, I mean, when I feel lined up, there's nothing greater.
Yeah.
But then I go to work and I see a lot of negativity, and I have young kids, and it's life, so it's hard.
What begins to happen is, because until you've been doing it for a little while, your perspective is valid. It's just not the way it needs to be. And after you do this for a little while, you'll say things like, this segment intending is smoothing the bumps out of my world. This segment intending is giving me more moments so that I'm accomplishing more in shorter periods of time. I'm zigging and zagging more with the harmonious ones, because what it literally is, it's you preparing yourself to go in this little capsule to work where only what is harmonious with you as you've prepared yourself to be will interact with you in any serious way. So anybody that's not that, they're late for work. They're over there. They went that way when you went that way. They're not engaging with you because you are different from them, and the law of attraction will not put you together. But if you are dreading going to work, if you are remembering negative rendezvous from yesterday, that's a segment intending too. So now you've taken your little prepared negative capsule into the work environment, and everything you've prepared for will be right there in your face. That's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So many of my questions have already been answered, and I just wanted to touch quickly on the energy. I've meditated since I was 12, and probably about...
Why do you meditate?
My parents started.
Why do you meditate?
It helps me to get centered and align.
So you meditate for the pleasure of it?
I feel so much better if I do.
So you meditate for the pleasure of it. We're just distinguishing. Some people meditate for the power of it. They get in there and then they try to create things. And some people meditate for the pleasure of it because they understand that the process, it's already been created, and so now they're just putting themselves in a place where they can begin receiving. It's a big distinction between the two.
Mm-hmm. And I think also I've felt that energy in about probably 3 years ago. I felt such an energy, my entire body was shaking.
That's what our friend was talking about.
Right. And is it a Kundalini awakening? Because that's all the research and everything that because it was something I've never experienced.
Meditation causes you to set aside the resistance that's usually there, so that energy that you usually don't let flow can flow, to the extent that you can actually be aware viscerally that it's flowing. You can call it whatever you want. There's an energy stream flowing from your source, and humans are so interesting to us. The way you want to identify everything in Kundalini energy, it's source energy. Does that mean that when you're allowing source energy to flow, we should name it one thing, and when you're pinching it off a little bit, we should name it something else, and when you're pinching it off a little less, we should name it something else? Or is it just different degrees of allowing yourself the fullness of who you are?
Yeah, no, and it's wonderful, whatever it is.
Energy is consciousness, and consciousness is life flow, and consciousness has a vibration. So whether you call it vibration or consciousness or energy, it's the stuff that's flowing through the universe, and it's the stuff that everything is made of, and it's the river or stream that carries everything. It carries intent, and it carries focus. And when you think of thought, the thought thinks. So the labels are all awkward and hard for humans, because you set yourself off on wild goose chases with your labels. And that's why we just want to help you feel it as simply as you can. You are pure positive energy, and the larger part of you stands in that. And our friend helped us to acknowledge that pure positive energy means absence of resistance, and in the absence of resistance you feel sensations that you would describe as love, or as appreciation, or as clarity. Clarity is Esther's favorite feeling, because it encapsulates everything, you see.
Thank you. I speak French, so bear with me.
Well, don't do that.
I'd like to talk about an emotion, a reaction I have, that it's tears of joy. When I feel joy, a joyful moment, why do I cry sometimes?
We already talked about your 2 points of attraction. So your inner being is in this place of continual well-being, love, appreciation, not enough words to really give you the visceral definition of how your inner being feels. So when, for some reason, you let your walls of resistance down and you join that vibration, now you are interpreting how your inner being feels through your physical body. You know how if you're really hungry, you haven't had an opportunity to eat, and your body's been asking for food, and then you sit down and it's a particularly good meal. Esther always said that the secret to Jerry liking her cooking was that she always made sure he was really hungry before she fed him. So he really thought it was good every time. So, that feeling of really, well, that's sort of the same thing. In some mild resistance, it can't be strong resistance or you wouldn't get to that alignment, but in some mild resistance, now you've let that go and you've allowed yourself to join. It's a release or a relief of resistance. There's something more we want to say to you. You know the physical human adage or question that has been around for a long time: if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, did it make a sound? And we say, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, there are no ears there to interpret the vibration into a sound, then no, it didn't make a sound. It made a vibration. But if there's not the mechanism that translates that vibration into what you call sound, then there was no sound, there was vibration. So your inner being doesn't have a body, doesn't have ears, doesn't hear in what you would call hear, or see in the way you would call see. But when you are really in sync with your inner being, so you are interpreting the vibration of your inner being through your physical body, that's your inner being's vibration that you are interpreting in that way. It's just what you might call an over the top, what we would call a normal state of a loving condition.
Tears of joy is...
Sometimes you feel overjoyed. Well, why would you feel overjoyed? Because you haven't practiced the capacity for joy. That's your indication that it's just not the next logical step. This was sort of new. This was sort of more than I'm used to.
It is a feeling, it is an emotion that is, since I've been listening to you, it's smaller and smaller. But still today, when we stood up and then, clapping at you, okay, I see people crying because we're joyful of being here.
It's a sort of homecoming. It's a recognition of where you belong. It's a final step into non-resistance. And so it's that last trailings of resistance sort of being let go in that moment. But you know, this is a wonderful conversation, really worth spending a moment here, because so many humans, we say, you said it in a different way just now, the more you practice the vibration of who you really are, so that you are resistant free on the subjects that matter to you, the more you will be privy to, consciously aware of vibrations becoming, to the point that when you get to the point where the manifestation is the next logical step, it will so feel like the next logical step that it won't feel like some big, extraordinary fireworks and balloons letting go of event, because it's the next logical step. But humans, you like the drama of things, so you really do hold yourself, sometimes almost deliberately, in deprivation of what you really want, so that you can feel that little edge of moving into it. And it's all right. We're not worried about you for this reason. Your life will never become mundane, because with every new piece you let in and every new piece you allow to manifest, you stand in a new place of attraction, and there will always be the new that comes to you. So you will always be feeling the newness of something. You will never, Esther's wanting to coin a new word, boredinary. You'll never feel boredinary.
All right, got it.
Enough.
Enough.
Really good.
Thank you very much.
Really good.